Ready? Play.
Well, hello, and welcome to Talking Tennis. And you're probably wondering, why is Nick back? Roland Garros is done. Why is there more power rankings? Wimbledon is in a matter of weeks. And look, if there's anything us tennis fans like, it's hype. So let's hype up Wimbledon and let's look at who, at this point, are the expected contenders for the Wimbledon title. Now, I appreciate my Roland Garros power rankings. I didn't really go into much detail until after the last one was released, and I went through them with John on the WTA Weekly show that was previewing Roland Garros. I probably thought it would be a good idea to go through a little bit of the formula with you in terms of what I look at. It's subjective. I'm not saying it's perfect. I had to completely retool it after last year. But in terms of the method, what I'm using, I'm looking at 2023 form. I'm looking at career results in terms of have they won a Grand Slam or have they been to a semi-final of a Slam, Masters 1000 final, won a 500. And I'm also looking at Wimbledon history specifically. Have they gone deep at the tournament before? How did they do last year? Are they a former champion? And critically, an element that's going to be missing from this power ranking is grass court form, because we've barely had any so far. Nottingham, the first round of Nottingham is done. That's given us a little bit of an insight, but not a lot. So expect a lot of changes over the next couple of weeks as the grass court season unfolds. We've got in the WTA Tour, we have Den Bosch, and we've got Nottingham happening this week. We will have a WTA 500 in Berlin and an WTA 250 in Birmingham, which I will be going to as a fan and representing Talking Tennis. And then the week before Wimbledon, we will have a WTA 500 in Eastbourne and a WTA 250 event in Bad Homburg in Germany. So there's plenty of grass court tennis still to be played and some interesting results that could still come from this. So with that in mind, I do have a top 10 based on the other elements aside from grass court 2023 form that we can kind of have as a foundation going into Wimbledon. Now, there is going to be one name that you're going to be surprised is not on this list, given her results last year on grass and given her recent Roland Garros semi-final result, and that's Beatrice Haddad-Maia. Haddad-Maia is obviously had an excellent grass court season until she went out in the first round at Wimbledon. I need to see whether she can replicate that form on grass this year before I can be convinced. But on paper, she's got a good chance, and she's definitely a good candidate for being higher up the list. She'd be in the top 20 if I was making a top 20. But she's one to keep an eye on. I'm not ready to put her in the top 10 just yet. Another name that was kind of on the cusp of making the top 10 was actually Victoria Azarenka. She is a former Wimbledon semi-finalist, two-time major champion, and generally in the majors this year has been pretty strong. I mean, she did lose to Andreescu in the round one of Roland Garros, but it was a really close and well-contested match, and she's a semi-finalist at the Australian Open. And I've got a good feeling about her on grass this year. So yeah, those are a couple of honourable mentions before we go into the top 10 proper. So let's do the top 10 proper because we're 4 minutes in. Number 10, Petra Kvitova, the 2011 and 2014 Wimbledon champion. Now, since 2014, when she last won it, which is coming up for 9 years ago to be exact, Kvitova hasn't done that well at Wimbledon. She seems to have struggled to make much progress, particularly since coming back from the horrific injury she suffered in 2016, early 2017. And that's what's keeping her down this. But obviously, she's a former Wimbledon champion. She could unlock it at any point. You can't definitively rule her out from making one more deep run at the tournament, at which very early in her career she excelled in. So yeah, Petra Kvitova is definitely a dark horse at Wimbledon and one to watch. And that Miami title is going to stand her in good stead. Miami traditionally is actually a pretty good indicator of Wimbledon form, being the last hard court event before, or it's the last non-clay court event, big event on the tour before Wimbledon. So, or before the grass court starts. So yeah, Kvitova, one to watch. Number 9, the 2021 finalist, Karolina Pliskova. Again, a player that we all kind of expected to be decent on grass, but her only great result has been that Wimbledon run in 2021, where she got to the final. She unexpectedly beat Aryna Sabalenka in the semis and took Ash Barty to 3 sets. Pliskova's game should suit grass, but she's not been super comfortable with movement on it historically. And obviously, we know how she is form-wise. It can be a bit patchy. She's still ranked in the top 20. So one to watch at Wimbledon, one to watch over the grass court season. Let's see what she can build on here. Number 8, Coco Gauff. I don't understand why people are writing Coco Gauff off on grass, given that her Wimbledon results have been last 16, third round. She made the 4th round on debut and only lost to Simona Halep, the eventual champion in 2019, aged 15. Yes, I understand that her serve probably isn't as big compared to others. Yeah, her forehand is a problem when rushed, but I think she's an excellent natural surfaces player. And she loves Wimbledon. She loves the big stage. And Wimbledon loves her. She gets placed on the big courts so often. She is a big draw for the crowd. And they're going to be supporting her. So, and she's had some decent results in 2023 as well, not least recent Roland Garros quarterfinal. So do not rule Coco Gauff out. She is going to be in these rankings probably for the next couple of weeks. We'll see where. It's going to depend on her results on grass. But I am not ruling Coco Gauff out of making a big impression at Wimbledon. Number 7. This is more out of hope than anything else, but Barbora Krejcikova. That Dubai title is still impressive, despite what came after it was a little lackluster. I think she was a bit unfortunate with some draws. Her grass court potential, I don't think we've really seen it. She did all right against Ash Barty in 2021 when Barty beat her. She also, but like last year at Wimbledon, she was still recovering from an injury. We didn't really get to see Krejcikova's best until kind of the late American hard court season last year. So her grass court prowess is a bit unknown. Her 2023 form still pretty good on the whole, apart from how clay went for her. Her surprise early exit in Roland Garros was concerning. So let's see how long she stays in this list. But at the moment, especially given she is a major titleist.
What is that, a titleist?
She is a contender because Wimbledon tends to bring out, tends to be won by champions. People have already won by champions. Rybakina broke that last year. But yeah, Krejcikova is a Grand Slam champion. Typically, Wimbledon is won by Grand Slam champions. That puts her in the running, as does a lot of other women on the tour. Okay. It also includes the number 6, because the number 6 is my ultimate dark horse for Wimbledon. Jelena Ostapenko. Hold on. Jelena Ostapenko has not been able to put together a solid 2-week run in a major for a while. Or has she? Let's look at the positives for Jelena Ostapenko. Her game is built for grass. It's power-based. The ball's low. If she's firing, she's very difficult to stop on this surface. She's won Eastbourne and in 2021, could have defended her title in 2022, but ran into a very much in form Petra Kvitova in the final. Great final between those two. She got to the fourth round of Wimbledon and then kind of self-destructed against Tatiana Maria. Otherwise, I think a semi-final against Ons Jabeur was very much on the cards had that not happened. And who knows how Wimbledon could have gone from that point. She is a former Wimbledon semi-finalist. She got there in 2018. Also quarterfinals in 2017. She's got a great grass court record. And this year, she's shown that she can put together some runs over 2 weeks. She got to the quarterfinals of the Australian Open and then the semi-finals of Rome, which this year was a 2-week tournament. And both times lost to Elena Rybakina. I would back Rybakina to beat her again at Wimbledon. But makes me think, hey, maybe she's starting to be able to put together 2-week runs. It's not a guarantee. It is Ostapenko. She's very unpredictable. That's why she's only as low as number 6. But let's keep an eye on her grass court results, because she could end up higher on this list in a couple of weeks. Number 5, the 2022 Wimbledon finalist, Ons Jabeur. Ons Jabeur is probably one of the best players on grass at the minute. She's won a grass court title the last 2 years. She won Birmingham in 2021. She won Berlin in 2022. She's going to be trying to defend her title again. She got a very impressive run to the final. Looked set to win it. Rybakina stopped her in her tracks. She's going to be out for some revenge this year, Jabeur. And I think her game, with its variety, with the slice, the drop shot, very effective spot serve, built for grass. If she's anywhere near firing, she's very difficult to beat. And I think that means that she deserves the number 5 spot on this list. Just doesn't quite have as much good form for the year as the women above her. Because number 4 is the Roland Garros finalist, Karolina Muchova, who also reached the quarterfinals at Wimbledon at her first 2 attempts in 2019 and 2021. Muchova loves grass. Again, that variety to her game really suits the surface. Everyone's been talking about how good she is on grass, much more compared to clay. I think the reason she's number 4 is more due to, let's see how the form carries over. She's been very consistently going deep in tournaments, but it's going to kind of depend on the draw because she's still ranked around 15, 16 in the world. And she's also got that injury concern. Not known if she's injured after the Roland Garros final, but it's more that historically we know that she's injury prone, and that could flare up at Wimbledon. I hope it doesn't. I hope we get to see Muchova at her best, because if she is, she's going to be very difficult to beat. Number 3 is, to be honest, a very soft number 3. Iga Swiatek. Iga Swiatek has just come off a Roland Garros title, but she's never beaten a top 60 opponent on grass. She's got some grass court wins under her belt. She got to a 4th round of Wimbledon in 2021, beating Shea Su Wei in the first round. We thought that was going to be a tough one. She cruised through it, but ended up coming unstuck against Ons Jabeur, although she did win the first set when they played at Wimbledon. And then last year, she came up against Alizé Cornet, who's the master disruptor. I said this on WTA Weekly on Monday. I think that stat, the top 60 stat, is one of those things that's going to get broken at some point, like with Aryna Sabalenka not getting past the 3rd round of the French Open. But Swiatek's game and grass is very much a work in progress because of her movement, The reason she's number 3 is because she is one of 3 players who have been present in every final this year. At least one of them. If you look at Australia, it was Sabalenka, Rybakina. Świątek got to the final in Dubai. Sabalenka and Rybakina got to the final of Indian Wells. Rybakina was in the final of Miami. Sabalenka and Świątek were in the final in Madrid. Rybakina was in the final in Rome. Świątek was in the final at Roland Garros. That trend's going to continue. I think it's more likely the other two are going to get there to the Wimbledon final. Świątek needs the Wimbledon final to guarantee remaining world number 1, regardless of how Sabalenka does. So that's something to consider. But you never know, because again, I was being very cautious about backing Sabalenka at Roland Garros, which is why she only ended up at number 3 pre-tournament, and she got to the semi-finals. Draw helped. She played very well against Muchova, could well have been in the final. She would have deserved it. Świątek, something similar could happen, and that's why she's currently number 3. So no prize for guessing who the top 2 are. But what order? Number 2, Aryna Sabalenka. Wimbledon semi-finalist in 2021, did not play in 2022. Australian Open champion, Madrid Open champion, had match point to be in the Roland Garros final. There is no doubt that Sabalenka is probably the biggest story of 2023 so far in terms of how much she's improved and how she's got herself to be a top player. And her game and grass seem like a match made in heaven. The power she could produce is going to be lethal on this surface. She's definitely playing. She's got her visa. I think she is very much a contender, and it was a bit of a coin flip between her and the number 1 spot. So why didn't you get number 1? Well, let's talk about the number 1. It's the defending champion, Elena Rybakina. Elena Rybakina is, in my mind, at present, the favourite for Wimbledon. Very similar form to Sabalenka. Very impressive. Couple of 1,000 titles, Australian Open finalist. I'm fortunate to have to withdraw from Roland Garros. She could have made a big impact there. The reason why she's top, I've already mentioned it. She's the defending champion. Wimbledon rewards champions. And I think she might just have an edge if she played Sabalenka on centre court on Saturday. If they played in the final. Rybakina's the 3rd seed, Sabalenka's the 2nd seed. They could play in the semis. But I would hope it's the final. Because that would, at the minute, that looks like to be the best possible final. Is Sabalenka Rybakina. Maybe, with a couple of exceptions, Muchova and Jabeur, some combination in there would be cool as well. And obviously Świątek would be cool as well. Actually, any of the players mentioned. Ostapenko would be fun. But I think if you look at the most likely scenario, it's those 2. And I think right now, Rybakina, because of the status of defending champion, I think she's got an affinity with Wimbledon. She was last 16 the year before. I think there's something about grass here she loves. I think there's going to be something about SW19 that she loves. So there you have it. As of now, as of the very start of the grass court season, before we have any much data on how everyone's going to play on grass, my favourite is Elena Rybakina. So just a quick recap. Number 10, Petra Kvitova. Number 9, Karolina Pliskova. Number 8, Coco Gauff. Number 7, Barbora Krejcikova. Number 6, Jelena Ostapenko. Number 5, Ons Jabeur. Number 4, Karolina Muchova. Number 3, Iga Świątek. Number 2, Aryna Sabalenka. And number 1, Elena Rybakina. Stay tuned in. We're going to do a WTA weekly show. Hopefully I can do some live updates from Birmingham, which is going to be a lot of fun. And obviously we'll keep across everything that's happening in Berlin as well. Next show will be summarizing everything that's kind of happened in Den Bosch and Nottingham. And I'll be back for an update on my next power rankings, on the power rankings for Wimbledon next week. Take care, everyone, and keep talking tennis.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.